Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had gonna
Going to off topic here. So Andre playing with that Proton. What do you think of that Proton?
It must be good enough.
Yeah, I was on a call with the guy who started that. He is he was at Honeywell. He was at Lockheed Martin. He's an engineer. Like he's a brilliant, brilliant dude. They make a softball bat that is apparently like it's revolutionized the way they make softball bats. And he was telling me that the way they make these proton paddles is they look at every single limit and they push as closely up against it as they possibly can. Right before I got on a call with this guy, I was on a call with another guy who is a paddle manufacturer. And unwarranted, he was like complaining about the Proton and how he thinks it's like unfair. It's, it needs to be regulated. And then I get on the phone with the Proton guy and he's like, no, we know exactly what the regulations are and we are pushing up as tightly as possible as we can.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Again, I don't understand this. Like, if you've got a rule, if it's 40 grit or whatever, yeah, make your
Right.
thing 40 grit.
Yeah.
So the Proton paddles, I do think the thing that's most interesting about them is the surface almost feels rubbery a little bit, and so it does have pretty good grab to it. It's got good pop, obviously. Like, I think the cotton candy look could use.
Yeah, the colors are tough.
Yeah,
That's the only
that could
thing.
use some improvement there, but it is a pretty unique surface from anything
He
else
was
that I've.
explaining, and I won't talk about it because I'll just trip all over myself trying to explain what he explained to me. Maybe we'll get him on the pod and he can talk about it, but he's got this whole approach, proprietary technology, and he's doing it differently, and he thinks he's figured out like how to do the surface the right way, and he thinks it's going to be like the next thing all the other paddle brands try and copy.
Yeah, I mean, until they move the goalposts.
Right. Yeah.
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 So.
Well, both of them were saying that is really, that's the biggest issue is they should stop moving the goalposts. Here are the goalposts. Here's regulations. Now, all of you paddle brands, you innovate within that. And once we do know, okay, this is how it's going to be in perpetuity, we'll start to see way more innovation within that. But because they keep moving the goalposts, we're sort of in this like weird phase where paddle brands don't know exactly what to do and how much they can invest in different types of technology because that technology could be illegal tomorrow if they keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because there are so many things that are new that you might not want to have as a part of your game, right? Like, let's say we were still all playing with wooden paddles and people are innovating and somebody has the genius idea to use a composite material and everybody's mind is blown. Do you move the goalposts to move it back to wood, or do you allow it to happen? I think there's still too much innovation to have to say that this is the final rules for paddles. So they're moving the goalposts it's happening frequently, like it's changing constantly because people are adapting. I think at a certain point, the paddle industry probably needs to self-regulate rather than having an external USA Pickleball
Right.
doing it, right? Like softball bats. They have different regulations on what can or can't be used, how fast the ball can come off of the bat, that type of stuff. But it's not regulated by like the American Softball Association. It's regulated by a group of paddle manufacturers who've gotten together to sort of decide like what these rules are going to be. And they need to have input from whoever is using these bats at the different levels. So I think eventually what's probably going to happen is the paddle manufacturers are going to work with the different entities to set up a standard for each. USA Pickleball will probably work with the paddle manufacturers to say, this is how we want the game to look for amateurs. Create us a set of standards to regulate paddles for USA Pickleball approved. MLP will say, this is what we want our product to look like. create a set of standards to ensure that this is how the game is played at Major League Pickleball. Mm-hmm. And I think that the paddle manufacturers are probably the best place to do this.
Yeah.
Sort of self-regulate.
A lot of brilliant guys making these paddles.
Yeah, and it's only getting faster, right? There's the pace of innovation is only getting quicker right now, it seems like.
Yeah. I talked to another group that's manufacturing paddles last week. I talked to them for like an hour and a half just because it was like fascinating stuff. I'm like, so could you just make a crazy souped up paddle, max pop, max grit? I don't care about whether it's illegal or not. Like, can you do that? Could you just make a paddle on steroids? And they're like, yeah. I was like, can you actually make it and send me one? They're like, yeah.
Yeah, it's called the Vice.
So
called the Diadem Vice.
I've never played with that one, but these guys are manufacturing me specifically one paddle that's going to be just maxed in all categories, just a rocket ship.
Nice.
I'm really excited to get that. I wish I could have gotten it for our challenge, but
no, the challenge was serving overhand. We will do a challenge of illegal paddles at some point, so I'll invite you back for that one, depending on how you perform in this one.
Do you think people would buy that? Like if we go, all right, this is
100%.
I'm going to put it on the site.
I think the Vice is a pretty good selling paddle.
Yeah.
I see a decent amount of Vice
Do you think
paddles.
that's BS, though, to show it to a rec court with just a souped-up paddle that's clearly legal? That'd piss me off. But total double standard, I would definitely use one.
Hey, I like it. At least acknowledge
I would have to
if
say
you're being
it,
hypocritical.
I would have to say it to be like, by the way, yes, this paddle is like absurd.
I think that's probably... If it depends, it honestly, I think it depends the way that you use it. If you're like a 75-year-old lady who is using this souped up paddle just to stay competitive with your group and it helps you be competitive, probably not. Or that's probably okay. But if you are playing with your same group that you're pretty even with and all of a sudden you're just head and shoulders better because you switched paddles, I'd say that's probably bogus. Yeah. So, no great answer to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to get my steroid paddle. We'll talk about it on the pod.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see if it can
maybe do a little
make
video.
you any better.
The pickle box.
The pickleball box?
The dink
Pickleball box.
Yeah, just kidding. It's the pickleball box.
The pickleball box,
It is a subscription box.
gear, accessories, apparel.
And it comes straight to my door with all the hottest pickleball gear in here.
It's so hot I can barely.
Over $250 of value in each box, and you only pay $99 for each one. Go to thedink.shop, undoubtedly the best gift for any pickleballer, or if you're like me, or anybody who listens to this, you're obsessed with pickleball, this is honestly like the perfect thing for you.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun.